Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. Fire potential headlines for the next week include hot and dry weather expanding north through the weekend. We'll see some gusty winds across the eastern areas again today and tomorrow. Isolated thunderstorms begin to move into the far south as early as Thursday, and then we'll see breezy winds across the north for the weekend. For the fuels, fire danger increases area-wide over the coming days. Potential impacts for the next 3 days show continued smoke impacts across much of the geographic area. We'll also see some very dry conditions with hot temperatures across the far south, and then those continued breezy winds over southern Idaho and into most of Utah for today and tomorrow. We'll see some gusty winds picking up along the Sierra Front tomorrow into Thursday, and then we'll see some very isolated storms possibly starting as early as Wednesday, but more likely some of those storms will start to pop up across the far southern area on Thursday. Yesterday was a quiet day for precip and lightning. We did have a pretty big fire growth day yesterday. Light initial attack with only 5 fires for 47 acres, but over 50,000 acres on our large fire growth with continued very dry conditions with some breezy winds out there. Smoke impacts continue to be quite significant, especially across Idaho and over portions of central Utah, where we see some of those large fires impacting the area from both Nevada and Utah. Overall fire danger conditions continue to increase region-wide under this warm and dry weather pattern as the hotter and drier air spreads north through the Great Basin this week. We'll see those ERCs increasing pretty much everywhere. We may see them leveling off a bit towards the weekend and into early next week in Utah, as we'll see a little bit of moisture moving back into the area. This morning's satellite imagery shows a high pressure ridge in place over the southwest with some westerly to northwesterly flow in place across the north today as a little wave moves across the northern Rockies. That'll keep temperatures a little bit cooler across the north, but also helping to bring those increased winds across the east. As the high pressure ridge expands this weekend, temperatures will increase. All right, looking at the forecast again for the next couple of days, we see the high pressure ridge in place over the southwest, and Wednesday into Thursday, that ridge will expand further north, bringing an increase in temperatures area wide. We do also have this little low moving across the northern Rockies today and tomorrow. That will kick up the winds over eastern parts of southern Idaho and eastern Utah today and tomorrow. We do have high risk triggers issued for some of those winds for today and tomorrow. We have both the burn environment and the wind trigger out there for areas where we see winds just below red flag warning criteria, but with as the dry conditions that we have out there, we still wanted to highlight the risk for, again, today, tomorrow. Thursday, we'll start to see a little bit of moisture starting to move into the far southern Great Basin. We do have high risk for those isolated drier type thunderstorms, again, beginning on Thursday. A closer look at the winds here show the strongest winds are going to be in place over central and eastern Utah once again today, affecting our ongoing large incidents there. Some breezy winds along the Snake River Plain, but a little bit lighter winds there. Those winds will continue across eastern part of Utah and into the Snake River Plain on Wednesday, and then lightening up in those regions a bit on Thursday, but still some breezy winds over far western Nevada and western Wyoming as well. Minimum relative humidities remain in the single digits across many areas as we head into the next couple of days, and we'll see those dry conditions expanding north into Idaho as well. Precipitation wise, no precip expected for today, really nothing for tomorrow, maybe a very isolated storm across the far south, and then on Thursday a little bit of a better chance of some isolated storms moving into the Arizona Strip and into the higher elevations of far southwest Utah. As we head into the weekend, the high pressure remains the dominant feature across the area. It kind of sets up over the southern half of the Great Basin for hot temperatures area wide. We'll see some slightly increased winds across Idaho. We do have some burn environment and high risk triggers issued for parts of central and eastern Idaho for the weekend as those wind speeds pick up just a bit, although they may be below red flag warning criteria. And then we also have some isolated storms expected, so we do have high risk triggers issued for our southern areas. Just one zone across southern Nevada on Friday, but expanding a little bit further in aerial coverage on Saturday with those isolated storms expected over southern Utah, Arizona Strip, and into the southern Ely area, and then expanding a little bit further northward on Sunday. These storms won't be producing too much in the way of precipitation. The winds on for the weekend, again, looking for some slightly elevated winds over eastern and central Idaho and into western Wyoming, where we do have some of those burn environment triggers issued. But the winds do lighten up a bit across Utah for the weekend. Still very dry area wide with low relative humidities across much of the area Friday into Saturday. On Sunday, we may start to see a very minor increase in relative humidity over the Utah mountains as we'll see some of those storms moving a little bit further northward. Again, precipitation for the for the weekend. On Friday, it's going to be pretty limited to just Arizona Strip, maybe far southern Nevada. But then on Saturday, we'll see it move a little bit further northward into southwest Utah, and then on Sunday, even further northward into parts of central and even northeast Utah. Temperatures for today are still on the mild side under that westerly northwesterly flow across Idaho with highs near 90 degrees or so, a little bit warmer across the south. But by Friday, our temperatures will be back up into the triple digits across most valley locations as the high pressure ridge expands northward. Again, minimum overnight recoveries are still something to definitely be aware of. Still very low across Nevada and portions of Utah for tonight. A little bit higher across Idaho and into western Wyoming. But as we head into the weekend with the high pressure ridge expanding, we'll see those values decreasing, most notably over the lower elevations of Utah and even Idaho. To summarize things here for the next 7 days, we do have triggers out for today and tomorrow in Utah, highlighting those windy or breezy conditions, but definitely elevated conditions for large fire growth today and tomorrow. And then beginning on Thursday, some isolated dry storms start to move into the southern Great Basin, and we'll see some breezy winds pick up over Idaho for the weekend, and that moisture continues to be in place across the southern Great Basin for some isolated drier type storms through the weekend. The extended forecast for April 9th through the 13th keeps temperatures warm across the entire Great Basin, but we do see the chance of some better monsoon moisture moving into the southern Great Basin as we head into the middle part of August. That concludes today's briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest.